Hey everyone, it's Jason here. Join me on a 23-day solo bikepacking trip that covers 1,000 kilometers, going from Sidney, BC, on the southern section of Vancouver Island, all the way to the northwest tip of Vancouver Island at San Josef Bay, my destination. I encounter some amazing scenery along the way, a variety of wildlife including bears, deer, eagles, dogs, fish, even bunny rabbits. I meet some incredibly welcoming locals along the way, and also many other bikepackers. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. On day one, I took the ferry from Swartz here, kind of southwest, to Swartz Bay ferry terminal, and then I cycled 18 kilometers south along the Galloping Goose and ended up at the Island View Beach Regional Park and camped there for the night. I took a before picture to see kind of what I look like at the beginning. Here's the ferry terminal. Here we are docking near Victoria, Sidney, BC. That's the Galloping Goose Trail, really nice trail along the island. Here's some of the sights along the way. Here I am at the Island View Beach Regional Park, and it's right on the ocean, really nice views. Here's the bike on day one, setting up the campsite and the tent. And here's the view from the beach at night, right before dinner. I was able to meet up with a buddy of mine, Julian, catch up on old times, and he joined me on the next day as well. Here's a fort I found on the beach, with some flowers, and some wildlife along the way. Got some bunnies running around here. Here's a walk around the campground, and I saw a seal swimming around. Day two kind of came in two parts. Started at the Island View Beach Regional Park here and headed west. And met up with my friend Julian at the Brentwood Ferry, and we took a little ferry across here to the Mill Bay Ferry Terminal. And from there we went kind of northwest into Mill Bay, had some brunch at McDonald's, and headed west along Shawnigan Lake until we reached the Cowichan Valley Trail, which is a super nice trail that went northwest, kind of through the forest, through a valley, really nice valley, and then ended up in Lake Cowichan. The views from my campsite in the morning were pretty spectacular. I kind of wanted to stay there, but I had to meet up with my friend Julian. Looks like rain today. And yeah, we had a bit of rain in the morning, light sprinkling, and then we got on the ferry. Happy trails! We finally got to the Cowichan Valley Trail. There's a couple of big trestle bridges that we went over. Really amazing. Julian decided to head back at this point. It started to rain. Got a little bit more rain, but some really great views. Beautiful British Columbia. We're at the Holt Creek Trestle. It's coming down, it's coming down. Yeah, day one. Actually, this is day two. It's pretty wet. My raincoat is soaked through already. It's been about 10 minutes with this kind of rain. I still have quite a ways to go. After all that rain, I got some gunk in my brakes. That's the squeaking you can hear. Took it pretty slow here because some of the potholes got bigger. Some of them were the size of small ponds. But trail overall was really nice. I kept my rain gear on because the rain was kind of off and on. My bottom half stayed pretty dry though. Some great views. This is the second trestle. That's where I came from. That's where my brakes kind of failed. And we're at the 66-mile trestle bridge. We're way up there. It's pretty cool. It's been raining, but sunny at the same time. Kind of cool. I'm completely soaked through. Still probably an hour or two away from Lake Cowichan, but yeah, onwards. I was getting pretty hungry at this point in the day, a little bit chilly, but the sun did come out and I was able to get some food at a nice restaurant here. Got a pizza and some yam fries. Here's my bike covered in gunk, and it was sunny and rainy at the same time. Finally made it to the Lakeview Park campsite and set up camp. It was a great day. Day 3 was pretty relaxing. I started in Lake Cowichan and then got on the Cowichan Valley Trail. It was pretty flat for most of the way and then went downhill, and then I headed up and to Chemainus. I was getting some water for my oatmeal, and the crows got into my breakfast. And along the valley trail here, saw some interesting, found a truck in the middle of the woods. Quite a variety of scenery along this trail. Got a bit of a bog here, some fields. It's pretty nice. There's a wall of tires. Holy crap. I guess that's one way to reuse tires. They weren't kidding. They weren't kidding. That is a serious hole. Okay, we're going around that way. Should be fun to push back up. I'm probably gonna wipe out here, but let's try. Good thing I fixed my brakes. Down we go. We got lots of weight. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Treacherous. Treacherous. Sure we'll encounter stuff like this as we get more north. Oh wow, keeps going. That's some serious washout. Should have taken the detour. Yeah, this is precarious, this part. Go up and over. I'm gonna fall in. I'm gonna fall in. Oh. Okay. I kind of made it up and over and got back on the highway and stopped for some lunch at a vegetable market. Notice this bird here. Someone left a cheesy behind, so he's having lunch too. And then got to the campsite in Chemainus. It was super nice. This is my bedroom. It's 6 feet by 2 feet. I have DEET on, but there's about 50 mosquitoes on the other side of this mesh. You can kind of see them. I haven't been bitten yet that I know of, but they are there. On day 4, I headed north from Chemainus and all the way to Nanaimo, and right before the campground there was a giant hill. Well, not giant, but pretty big hill at the end of the day, but it was a fun day. My bike left a cool imprint overnight from the rain. Morning turned out to be a little bit rainy, but not too bad. Nice views along the way, some nice cows. But I got my first flat of the trip. Unfortunately, it was a staple. Didn't take long to fix though, and then I stopped at Subway for lunch to recuperate. Really nice views along the way. Some backcountry roads. This was actually a landfill. Had to get a picture of it. End of the city limits. Down tree here. Some pretty funky looking trees along the way. This Parkway Trail was really nice on the way to Nanaimo. Some nice wildflowers along the way. And I got to this kind of water reservoir area. Got a delicious snack to fuel me up the hill that's coming up. That's a giant hill. There's tons of bunny rabbits in Nanaimo. So that's the hill I had to go up to get to my campsite at the end of the day. Here I am at the top. Here's the campground. It's a pretty nice campground. Set up camp. Looking a little rough there with some bugs on my face. Some nice birds chirping away. At the back of the campsite was a cliff down to the river. Some really nice, I think, cedar trees here. And that night I had a little bit of a campfire. Day 5 was kind of a medium day. Started in Nanaimo and headed along the coast and ended up in Qualicum Beach. Good morning. Had some oatmeal and a latte for breakfast. Stopped for an early brunch to fuel up even more. And this campground here, this beach, I used to come here with my sister when I was younger and her family. Did some camping every summer. And there's some nice trees in Qualicum Beach. The views are amazing. The beach is really nice. It's quite shallow and the tide goes out. Things get nice and warm. So here I am setting up the next campsite. This was at Qualicum Beach. Now my site basically backed right onto the river, which was super nice. Little trail from the river here. A very short few steps and you're in kind of my campsite. So I kind of lucked out. Actually, most of the campsites here kind of have a way into the river there. Here's a bit of a staged time-lapse kind of thing of me setting up camp. Thought I'd do this once. Air mattress, sleeping bag, and then delicious dinner. Day 6 was a bit longer of a day. Started in Qualicum Beach, head along the coast. Really beautiful views along the way. Ended up in Comox, but had to change campsites because the first campsite was kind of sketchy and ended up at an amazing campground. And here we are on the island, so we're about almost halfway up the island and our destination is going to be up this way. This little guy was just outside my tent in the morning. He was waking up as well, as you can see. Didn't get a whole lot of footage today, but it was a great day regardless. Stopped for a little snack here at this little kind of roadside food place. The views along this route were really, really nice. I know I keep saying that, but Union Bay I think is one of the places I passed. Amazing views. Finally got into Comox, and then eventually got to a different campground, the Seal Bay Resort. Super amazing campground. And a friend of mine, Stu, actually brought me some takeout dinner. So we sat here outside and had some good chats and some great food. And I set up camp and called it a day. Day 7 was supposed to be an easy day, but I ended up going from the campsite into town and back. And then later in the day, I made my way northwest up to Miracle Beach, which had amazing views. This was one of the few prepared meals I brought with me. It was extra delicious. It doesn't look so good, but it tasted amazing. After Miracle Beach, I headed kind of northwest and started to hit logging roads. Went kind of inland here and eventually got to Campbell Lake, and this is where the adventure really started. The Miracle Beach campground was really well laid out. Before my breakfast, I went down to the beach to see the view, the Miracle Beach view, and holy moly was it nice. Panoramic views, really nice. And there's a few charts that show you kind of what you're looking at, all the different mountain ranges out there. Here are those charts showing what's out there. Had some quick breakfast, oatmeal and coffee, some trail mix. I have a guest. And yeah, I had a guest. So I packed up the camp, which takes about 20 to 30 minutes depending on how much energy I have, and kind of got back on the road, followed the highway. I went past some more amazing views. I was stopping a lot to take pictures. This cracked me up a little bit, this do not remove rock. The rocks were like very large. No one's going to be removing them, I don't think. Another truck in the woods. Seems to be a common occurrence. And then I'm getting off the beaten path here, and I finally hit my first major logging road. And somewhere along the way I met someone. Hi. Oh, there's so many. I shouldn't talk to you.
Mina, sit. Good girl. Watsy, sit. Sit. Shh. Sit.
I'm getting a bath.
Amish, sit. Stay.
Am I salty? So this woman was a dog trainer, and she was out with her pack of dogs. It kind of scared me when I was on my bike and I looked way ahead. I just saw a giant group of dogs, and I was like, uh-oh, what's going on here? I did see a human though, so it was pretty safe. She was very nice, and she lined them all up so I could get a photo of them. So even though I was on a logging road, I would occasionally pass over a highway or be alongside the highway, but at other parts I was kind of really far away from the highway and kind of out there in the boonies. At one point I passed an airport, actually, the Comox airport. And a few logging trucks went by, but nothing too crazy. His wheels look broken. Is that intentional? But he's fixing the road. I better get out of the way. Been climbing for about 20 minutes up this logging road. The highway's right beside me to the right for a little ways, but I can't get onto it. It's separate. Saw 2 logging trucks so far. Not too bad. I think I got about 15k to go today. And it's around 3 o'clock, 3:30. So as I approached Campbell Lake, some pretty fantastic views as usual. And there's a dam at the north end of the lake that used to have a campground, but that's since closed, and they've created a new, BC Hydro has created a new campground that's kind of south of the dam. And yeah, spectacular views, amazing lake. No power or cell signal here though that I could get. That bridge in the distance that I just panned by, I'll be going over that tomorrow in my journey, my adventure. An older couple that was a few campsites away lent me some firewood, or not lent me, gave me some firewood. They were very nice. They also let me store my food overnight in their camper to keep it away from bears, because it's active bear country. Tomorrow was a bit of an adventure. Day 9. I was supposed to start up in Campbell Lake here and take this northern road along the lake and end up in Gold River, but I cycled all the way along here along this logging road and got to this point where there's a river and there was no bridge. So even though the plan didn't turn out for this day, I set out on my adventure anyway. Here's the bridge that I'm about to go over and follow the kind of the northern part of the lake along a logging road that I discovered was very much closed down. There's a few. This was the first obstacle. Here goes nothing. This should be interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. My bike's probably gonna go off a cliff. We'll see how this goes. Oh, probably should take the gear off first. Well, maybe we'll be okay. Oh. Okay. Now I just have to get up here. Yep. This is vertical. Okay. Up we go. Hey. Okay, that wasn't so bad. That's the reservoir on the other side. Is there a dam here? I don't know. Looks nice though. Oh, looky here. Wow. An old bridge. Wow, I just saw a fish down there. No, it's a wave. This is freaking amazing. There's the dam way up there. Holy moly. And that's the campsite over there. Obstacle number 2. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, we'll get through this. Holy shit. Holy shit. This is not gonna work. This will not work. One bag at a time, baby. One bag at a time. And we gotta do this on the other side. So this all requires a bit of explaining. The trench was much deeper than it appears in the photos and video. This was an officially closed logging road. I did meet one of the locals earlier in the day at the campsite, and he said the road was closed, but there's a way around. So I took all my packs off and kind of got the bike around. But I probably shouldn't have taken this road because there's a bit of an obstacle later on along the way. It's a bumpy road. Oh, got view. Oh, yeah. This is actually smooth compared to what we've been seeing. Look up. Way up. Hey, bear. Very calm on the water. Very calm. Ah. There was a lot of bear poop along the way, so I had my bear spray at the ready, and I was calling out occasionally just to alert bears of my presence. I didn't see a single soul on this road for several hours, actually during the whole trip. No vehicles, no humans, just animals and a bit of eeriness because this road had been officially closed for many years. But it was fun. It was interesting. Yay, downhill! We love downhill. It's so cool. Except it hurts our balls. Look at this. What? We're going way in. Is this right? Holy shit. What's over there then? Okay. The lake goes this way. We must consult the map. Where has the road gone? This is the road on the map. I think it needs a bit of work. I hope this doesn't go for very long. Because there's still a long way to go on this thing. It goes on and on. This is walkable. It'd be rideable if I had a crazy mountain bike, but something wet just hit my ankle. So the road became less and less of a road to the point where it was just, trees, fallen trees, overgrown. I eventually hit a raging river where there was supposed to be a bridge, but there was no bridge. So this was the only sense of civilization I saw, this old post. Now this requires a bit of explanation. It just kind of looks like a stump, but all the smaller trees here are actually quite large trees, and this stump was about the size of a small house, maybe? Shed? It was very wide across. It's old growth, probably hundreds of years old when it was chopped down. I said I hit a river with no bridge. Unfortunately, I didn't take a video or a photo of it. And it was too powerful and too deep to cross. So I ended up backtracking. Backtrack about 20 kilometers back to the Campbell Lake site. I met this older gentleman on his e-bike on the bridge. And he told me a bit of an interesting story. He said that last year some people lit a fire on top of the bridge, and it had started to catch on fire, but eventually they put it out. So there's a big burnt mark on the bridge now. So I got back to the campsite and had to reset up my tent and all my stuff at a different campsite because someone had taken the campsite that I was in the night before. But here's the little walk down from the campsite to the lake. It's pretty nice. Didn't do a campfire that night. Was pretty tired, and see him drying some clothes there. Had a little bit of a bath in the lake where I also got my drinking water, which I filtered. And that was the day. On day 10, I headed to Gold River from Campbell Lake. On the other side of the lake this time, because the logging road during yesterday's adventure didn't have a bridge. So I headed around this way and then kind of southwest to Gold River. The water that morning was super calm. Sorry for the blurry photo here, but I made it to Strathcona Park. But yeah, smooth as glass in some parts, really amazing. I usually woke up at around 5:30 when the sun rose, but didn't really get rolling out of camp until usually around 9. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later, depending on the weather and what was going on. But some pretty amazing cliffs along the way. So if you look across the river here, this is where across the river was where I was yesterday. Just past that, I think I hit a different river, which was the one I couldn't cross. So today we're on the other side. I did see quite a few deer, but I didn't manage to get a photo of them every time. Didn't see any moose though. The road was pretty windy, pretty hilly, kind of roller hills. Not much shoulder in many places, but the traffic was pretty light, so it wasn't too bad. It was around 33 degrees Celsius out though, or 91 Fahrenheit. I hit a bit of a roadblock here. So it was pretty hot. Not the hottest day I think, but pretty hot. Finally made it to Gold River and had a nice cold refreshing drink. Got some sugar, salt, and fat in there. Pretty high calorie. Just what I needed to cool down. And did a little bit of exploring around town. Found a place I could do some laundry. And had a bit of brunch, I guess. I think it was around 1 or 2 o'clock in the day then. So I went past town a little bit to the campsite, set things up, and had a little bit of a sponge bath in the river because this campsite didn't have power or showers or anything. Pretty rudimentary. But along the river, pretty nice. And that night I was able to wake up, get out of my tent, and check out the stars in the middle of the night. And it was a super clear night, and I was able to see kind of a bit of the Milky Way, which was kind of amazing. But that was the end of that day. Day 11. We're kind of getting more towards the north side of the island, and I set out from Gold River and headed along a logging road, very hilly terrain, covered almost a kilometer in elevation. It was hills all the way to the peak, climbing a mountain, and then kind of downhill along the way into Moutcha Bay, which had great food. Some of the grades on these roads were 18%. So I headed out of Gold River. It was another warm day, and today was going to be a day of climbing a mountain and then going down a mountain on a logging road, which was actually a really nice road. This section was paved, but later on it was gravel. We're just about, 5% into the ride. It's turned into a gravel road recently, and there's like a sheer cliff on the side of the road, so I'm gonna be very safe. There's something big in there, way back, and I hit the biggest hill of the day. I'm gonna be walking up that. Now that was a hill. There's a little bit of a descent. I have a snack. My helmet's always crooked. Hey bear! Hey bear! My first encounter with a bear on the trip was pretty small, but still a bear. I wouldn't want to get close to him. He was pretty far away, and I called out and his ears kind of perked up. He kind of took a look at me, and then he kept walking. Luckily the road forked here, so he went to the right and I went to the left. I waited about 5 minutes to make sure he was kind of out of the way before I continued on. I did have bear spray with me at all times. It was always within reach on the front of my bike, just in case, but never had to use it on the trip, which was good. This might be the top. I've said that 3 times now. Ooh, hard work. We're at the Upland Caves though. No, Usana Caves. Turns out it was the Upana Caves. I didn't end up seeing them, but I gave directions to some guys who drove by me who were looking for the caves. And now we go down, yay! Way down, way down. There's another bear up there. It's kind of in the shade, kind of freaky. Can you see him? He's kind of the black dot in the middle of the screen there. Luckily, he kind of went back into the bush. The downhill here was 15%, so I was riding the brakes most of the way down. And it got even steeper later into the ride. That's a big pipe! So Moutcha Bay is a resort that's kind of on the ocean. I decided to spend the night there to break up the ride between Gold River and Tahsis, just to give myself 2 easier days instead of 1 longer day. And the downhills here were pretty crazy. I had to clamp the brakes a lot on the way down. It was getting pretty warm later in the day. Finally made it to Moutcha Bay, which is on a cliff, as I explain here in a sec. After a day of tortuous hills, mountains, we arrive at Moutcha Bay, which is built on a cliff. Please check in at the lodge at the bottom of the cliff. Oh, my legs. I left all my gear, my bike at the top, and I was able to cool down. I dunked my head, my feet, and my shirt in the ocean water there and got cooled down. Campsites here are pretty expensive, but the food is so good that it was well worth it. My campsite was kind of on another cliff overlooking some boat storage, but also got a bit of a mountain view. And the ravens were pretty loud, but they eventually calmed down, and I called it a night. Day 12 was a bit easier. Headed from Moutcha Bay all the way to Tahsis, which is a little town. And then tomorrow we're going to go take a water taxi along the water here to Zeballos. Had a pretty beautiful morning. Hiked down the cliff to the restaurant and had an all-you-could-eat buffet. It's pretty delicious. I think I had 3 plates full and like 4 cups of coffee, so lots of energy for the day, even though it's going to be a bit of a short day. There were some fairly big hills, not too bad though, and this is Three Sisters Falls, kind of along the way. This birch forest was a little bit unique compared to the evergreens that are usually seen around here. There's a super shallow lake here. It's probably pretty warm. We're about 10 kilometers away from Tahsis. It's hard to capture how big these are in video. My hand got in the picture as usual, but I'm wearing the Ray-Ban Stories, which are let you record video and photos. So some of the footage on my trip were from these sunglasses. They worked out pretty well. They can also pipe navigation audio cues into your ears. It's been gravel road a good chunk of the way, but just going into Tahsis, about 2k away. It's super smooth and nice and calm, and there's a river behind me. Tahsis, the town I'm about to go to here, has a population of about 300. Really small town, very friendly people. Everyone I encountered was very chatty and got into some conversations. It's kind of surrounded by mountains and some really amazing views. I think the main industry there is probably fishing tourism. The views! Oh my god, the views! Tahsis is a beautiful place. Views on both sides. There's this gas station / general store. Pretty slim pickings, but this is the main store in town. I think I talked to the owner and he's been there for something like 30 years. One of the locals asked me to hold his dog while he went in and bought some food. We had a pretty long conversation after that. Pretty interesting guy. A bit of a hike here along the way. And this is the campground I stayed at, Seaside RV. And there's a bit of a story about this guy. The short version of the story is that I had booked a different water taxi to get to Zeballos, but this guy, who was just a couple campsites over, was the captain of the boat for a different water taxi that I eventually ended up taking with 3 other bikepackers who I cycled a little bit with the next day. The name of the company is Shorebird Expeditions. Highly recommended if you want a water taxi between Tahsis and Zeballos, and the captain's name is Conrad. I had some dinner down at the marina. It's one of the few places that serves food. It was pretty good. I also saw some eagles being fed kind of fish carcasses. I think that's the most eagles and birds I've seen like that in one group before, as they had their dinner. After dinner I did a bit of laundry and had a shower and kind of explored the town a little bit more and called it a night. On day 13, I took the water taxi from Tahsis along here. It was about a 35-minute ride to Zeballos, a small little town, which I wanted to stay more time in, but I didn't. And then continued on this way, quite a few hills along here, all the way to Atluck Lake. The tide was out and the water was calm, so I headed over to the marina for some breakfast. Breakfast was pretty delicious, and I met up with 3 other bikepackers who I was going to share the water taxi with. These are a couple of their bikes, much better setup than I had. They got the front bag, which I have, but then they have a frame bag in the center, which keeps the weight centralized. I think they also had much better climbing gears, and they've got the seat post bag on the back there, which is probably a lot easier than saddlebags, which is what I was using. They were much more experienced riders than me. So we got out on the boat. It was pretty calm. The trip didn't take very long. Nice views along the way. That's 2 of the 3 people from the trip. Here's a bit of the boat ride. Pretty calm. Needed some help getting my super heavy bike onto the boat. So we eventually got to Zeballos. Cute little town. I didn't really explore it much, unfortunately. I got some photos of some of the unique buildings there. I think it's even smaller than Tahsis. They were going to be much faster than me, so I headed out first. And they were actually going to a different destination. But it turned out that we ended up at the same Atluck Lake at night, because they had done a 100-mile ride the day before and were pretty exhausted, so I think they took it easy on this day and came into Atluck Lake just a little bit after me. Atluck Lake was super busy, lots of RVs. There was some kind of fishing derby going on, so it was hard to find a campsite. There was a tiny little graveyard in a field just outside of town. Quite a bit of climbing on the route today, 800 meters of climbing. Heading through the mountains. Dipped my head in a few of these streams to stay cool. I think it was close to 30 degrees, somewhere around there. Amazing views. Some pretty wild looking trees. And every time you go by one of these rivers, the temperature would drop about 5 to 10 degrees. Or at least it felt like that, which is really refreshing. Quite a few rivers along the way. Some really interesting trees. I was stopping a lot to take photos. I thought the bikepacker group would definitely pass by me, but they didn't show up till I got to the campsite. These waterfalls coming up were pretty amazing. Wow. Yeah, I kept stopping to take photos. I think I probably took, 40 photos along the way on this route. Some clear cuts along the way, but here I am at the campsite. Now the campsite was full, but there was 2 ladies who found this little spot for me just behind their campsite, which was really nice. This is the neighbor's campfire. The wind really started to pick up that night, and we got a full-on storm later on that night. That tree was already fallen down.
It's the view out of my tent. Still very windy.
Day 14 started out along Atluck Lake, nice and pancake flat along here, but then quite a bit of climb, 830 meters overall going up this way. I was originally going to go to Alice Lake, but stopped short at Kathleen Lake, which actually has a small little wreck site here. Got up pretty early that day. The storm had calmed down. The view of the lake was spectacular. This was my favorite photo of the trip. Just amazing. Beautiful spot. So I headed out after some breakfast, packed up my site. Western Forest Products, you'll see those signs pretty often. They do a lot of logging in the area. And they manage a lot of the wreck sites. Hello? Now the reason I called out there was because I couldn't hear a single thing. Not a car, not a bike, not a bird, and it was kind of eerie. I did ride briefly with the other group of 3, but they were able to climb up these hills really fast, and I got my first flat of the day. And when I was changing the flat tire, I also noticed that my rack was missing a bolt, so the rack was about to fall off. I managed to get another bolt from my bottle cage and fix it up. Okay, it's 5 o'clock. It's cold. I'm hungry. And there's still a massive climb to do, and I'm kind of out of energy. I'm supposed to go to Link River today, but Kathleen Lake is before that, so I'm thinking I'm going there instead. There were some really interesting trees in here. This one, there was a tree growing out of a tree branch, it looked like. Very strange, with roots kind of coming down. Pretty neat. So I hung my food for the night to keep it away from the bears, and had a pretty early night. Didn't have a swim in the lake as it was pretty murky. There was another couple staying there as well, a motorcycling group that I said hi to, but didn't really interact with them too much. Day 15 was a bit of a shorter trip, starting at Kathleen Lake wreck site, heading northwest up to Port Alice. And for perspective, this is where we are on Vancouver Island now. The bugs so far on this trip haven't been too bad until I got to Kathleen Lake, and they were crazy. This is the number of bugs that got into my tent, leaving the door open for about 10 seconds. About 70 meters up the road is where I hung my food overnight. And the following little video shows how a bear claws on the tree where it climbed up to try to get my food, and he got so close to my food. I also saw this bear the day before, I think it was the same bear, really close to the campsite, so I was a little bit freaked out coming in the evening to camp here. Here's where I hung my food, up on that branch up there. The bugs are killing me, so I can't record long, but those are the fresh claw marks on the tree. 1, 2, 3, 4. He couldn't get all the way up. The food was about another 3 or 4 feet higher than he would have got it. And then about 100 meters down there is the campsite. The road along Alice Lake on the way to Port Alice was not so great. Lots of clear cutting going on, and there's quite a bit of development. They're putting in kind of a new neighborhood. That's one of the new houses there. I've been on gravel for many days. I finally hit pavement. Yay, civilization. Rolled into Port Alice around noon, somewhere around there. Really lovely town, kind of covered in fog all the time. Got some lunch, a latte, and was still hungry, so I got a milkshake on top of that. Maybe I'm calorie deficient. And this is like my thumb. Both of my thumbs started to crack, probably from the dryness. During the course of the day, I met 11 other bikepackers doing a similar route to what I was doing. Two guys from California, two girls from the States, 5 older gentlemen in their 60s, 4 of them doctors, which I would cycle with later, and then a girl and a guy, couple friends from Vancouver. This is just a picture of their different bike setups. I asked them all if I could take a picture just to see their gear set up and how they put their packs on and their gearing ratios and their tires and all that kind of stuff, because the bike I brought was not very good. Okay, so this here was a restaurant that closed, I think, about 20 years ago or something. What's fascinating about it is if you look in the windows, you can see the tables are still set as if they're about to open for business. So I called it a night, and I decided I was going to spend the next day recuperating and resting and just enjoying Port Alice. I ended up doing a little bit of cycling, but a pretty light day. The owner of the campground, this is the campground where I stayed, you can see my tent there, recommended that I go check out this little island that you can see in the background there. That only is reachable during low tide. So I walked along the sea walk, got some berries along the way, lots of salmon berries along the way. Saw some wildlife, lots of beautiful views, and then walked out onto the little island. It was about a 1 or 2 kilometer walk. The island looks tiny there, but it was actually seemed bigger when you're on it. And when I was walking through the forest floor was really, really spongy, really kind of unusual, almost like a trampoline. Here's where the tide kind of went out. Some interesting kind of looking rocks. And some of the other islands that are out there. Quite a bit of fishing goes on in this town. Here's kind of the view from the island looking back towards the town. And then after some lunch, I rode my bike out to the pulp mill, which is, it's being decommissioned. It's shut down a couple of years ago. And there was a country club and some deer along the way. And here's a different set of deer that I saw just as I was entering town in someone's front yard. And then got some other pictures of some bikes of the people who were camping at my campsite. Actually, I think these people were just passing through. I don't know if they were camping that night. But lots of people doing this tree-to-sea bikepacking route. On day 17, after a day of rest, I headed out from Port Alice along the water. It looks like it's along the water. It's a logging road, but there's actually no water views. Just a word of warning. I was expecting lots of nice views. And then headed inland a little bit. There's a little section along the highway. And then headed north through this kind of waterway here. Did a brief check-in at Cole Harbor. Got some ice cream and then headed west to this log dump here, which is not officially a campsite or anything, but it was a really nice spot to stop and camp for the night. This was the hardest day of the whole trip, I think. Lots of hills and pretty fast paced because I rode with a group of 5 guys. So this was Canada Day. Lots of festivities going on in town. I didn't really partake in any of those, but I cycled with these 5 older gentlemen ranging from ages 62 to 68. 4 of them were doctors, so pretty safe group to ride with if anything goes wrong. All of us got flat tires except for one guy who had tubeless tires, which makes me think maybe next time I'll try tubeless tires, where like a sealant is in the tire and it self-seals. Got a little bit dirty along the way. We stopped in Cole Harbor for ice cream. I didn't really spend very much time there, and then finally got to this log dump where we set up camp. I took a dip in the ocean, warmed up by the fire, had a little bit of dinner. Kind of lucked out for bear food storage this night. There was a kind of a crane cab that we were able to lock all our food in securely, keep the bears away. It saved us from hanging it in trees. We had a really nice sunset that night. Lots of stories around the fire. And this is my campsite. It's a little bit windy, but not too bad. Nice sunset. And called it a night. Bit of a shorter day this time, only 28k along a logging road heading west through the mountains to Holberg, which is a tiny little town, on the way to our final destination, San Josef Bay, which is over here. And for context, we are now pretty much at almost the northern tip of the island. So we've come all the way from Sidney, BC, all the way up here. The ride was pretty nice. The logging road was in pretty good condition. I decided to ride solo just to kind of go at my own pace, but I would see 3 of the doctor group later in the day. We are just about in Holberg, which is the last stop before San Josef Bay, the destination of this trip. I'm very tired, so it'll be nice to reach a little spot of civilization and eat and shower and do laundry. One of the first buildings you'll see in Holberg is the Holberg B&B, which is also kind of like a general store. So I checked that out briefly and then headed over to the Scarlet Ibis pub, which is the island's most northern pub, and got some food. This is the view right by the pub. Got some food, and I'm actually staying in a building, a small little hut during this stop before I head over to San Josef Bay tomorrow. Here's the inside of the pub. Here's some of the cyclists I was cycling with yesterday, and got some delicious fish tacos and some poutine to reload the calories in. Some more views just by the pub. And a few hours later I had a burger because I was still hungry. Here's the eco huts, as they call them, I think, that I stayed in. Here's the inside, pretty small. They can house 3 people though. There's a queen size bed on the bottom and then a single on top. I had a nice shower, no coins required, unlimited hot water, and had probably the best sleep of my trip this night. Day 19, probably the best day of the whole trip because I got to my destination, San Josef Bay. Started from Holberg and cycled west about 20k to the trailhead, which is over here. And then if you're on a bike, you have to walk your bike. There's a little hiking trail that goes along here. It's about 2.5k, takes about 30 minutes. So really beautiful walk through here. And then finally got to the San Josef Bay, beautiful beach, which we'll see a bit later. Here's the view that I woke up to in the morning by the Scarlet Ibis pub. The tide was out. It looked super nice. Came out of the washroom and... Hello, tame deer. Very tame. It's like 20 feet from me. Oh, there's 2. Hello. It's a family. Hi. Hello. The road from Holberg to San Josef Bay is pretty nice. It's pretty flat. I saw a bunch of bikepackers coming back that I had met previously in Port Alice on the way back. The parking lot was overcrowded. It was pretty busy there. Considering it's out in the middle of nowhere, it was pretty busy. You can see the sign there, no cycling allowed. So I had to walk my bike. And the trail was really, really nice. It's a 2.5k trail, kind of through the forest. Lots of crazy trees. Some really big and old growth trees along the way. Just a really, really nicely well-maintained trail. And this is where you get on to the North Coast Trail, which is a hiking trail, which I'd like to do someday. This tree right here, or the one previously, was probably 500 years old. Just amazing. This tree here, or 3 trees, is like 4 trees, 5 trees growing out of each other. Really, really crazy looking. And a couple of trees downed here, probably due to a windstorm. Finally here in San Josef Bay. It's been about 750 kilometers of riding. Some ups and downs, but generally a fun journey. And this was the destination. Looks pretty amazing here when you walk out of the forest. It's pretty grand. The weather here changed on me quite rapidly. It was cloudy when I got there, then it got sunny, then the clouds rolled in, and then it started to rain at night. Windy, like the weather changed pretty often. I took a walk around the beach and headed right after I came out of that trail to find the sea stacks, which is one of the things I really wanted to see. It's these rock formations that have trees growing on them, and when the tide comes in, they are kind of slightly underwater, and then when the tide goes out, you can walk in between them. There's also a kind of a small cave in the rocks here. This was more on the north side of the beach. I headed back south to find a place to put my camp. In retrospect, I probably should have put my camp in the forest instead of on the beach. And I found this nice downed tree, which had a little tree growing out of it. Kind of provided a natural wind break because it was pretty windy there. So I decided to set up camp there because the weather was changing. There were some darker clouds rolling in. Kind of looked like rain. And here's the final camp setup. It was a pretty nice spot. I did get sandblasted a little bit by the wind and the sand. But it was a pretty neat place to stay. Here's the sand on my tent. And yeah, the clouds rolled in. This is like over maybe 10 minutes. Had some dinner. Some gourmet ramen. Not really gourmet, but went for a little walk in the sand in my bare feet. There's my little campsite. Took a few more photos and chilled out in my tent for a while and called it a night. Day 20 was pretty much the reverse of yesterday. Did the hike back through the trail to the trailhead and then took the logging road back. Thought about stopping at Roning's garden, which has some pretty cool trees and stuff, but it was raining quite hard, so I just pushed through to Holberg to spend the night at the Holberg B&B. It's raining. It's sandy. I'm deciding whether I need to pack up or not. Had a fairly lazy start to the day, hoping the rain would stop, but it didn't, so I kind of packed up and headed back through the trail in the woods. This is the giant tree that I found. It's probably, I don't know, 500,000 years old. I don't really know the age, but you could see my helmet at the beginning there for perspective. Not super tall, but super wide. Heading back from San Josef Bay to Holberg, and we got some rain. I will never camp on a beach again. Sand gets everywhere, especially when it rains. But we're going to spend the night in Holberg and then head to Port Hardy the next day. Here's the Holberg B&B and store, general store, and this is Pop's kind of the next morning. He was able to carve out a spot for me to sleep. He didn't really have any rooms for rent. They were all full, but he was able to kind of make a bed for me in one of the rooms. Really nice of him. Here's the store. Lots of provisions, lots of good stuff. Super friendly people, Pops and his girlfriend and some of the workers that work at the store there. Super friendly. And actually they invited me to kind of a family dinner because they had some relatives in town. And so they invited me and we had a barbecue outside. Great food, Vietnamese food, and it was amazing. Amazing time, very friendly. Very small town. Great memories, great memories. The internet there was provided by SpaceX, which was kind of cool, Starlink. And there was a chicken coop that one of the staff had who lives on site. Day 21 was kind of a moderate day, 46k, and decent amount of elevation. The road from Holberg to Port Hardy. It's a logging road. It's got some hills, but it's not too bad, and it's well maintained. There's a couple lakes along the way. I didn't really stop at them, but they looked pretty nice. Prepare for the unexpected. Yeah, it's this is like a shoe tree that people donated a bunch of shoes to. Pretty interesting. Pretty nice road along the way though. Been descending into Port Hardy for a while now. Finally hit pavement. I think this might be the end of gravel roads for the trip. I'm cold, I'm hungry. Yeah, pretty close to the campsite though. I took a little look around the town, saw a giant eagle on the way, which was pretty amazing. Went into Port Hardy, got some supplies, had a little bit of dinner, and went back to the campsite. This is the view from my tent site. Pretty nice, and we had a pretty nice sunset. I had a campfire with some other campers, and just basically chilled out. Got a bit of a rainbow, and they have cabins there as well. This is them at night. So that was the end of my day. Day 22 was pretty easy, along the highway from Port Hardy to Port McNeill. Not too many hills, a little one here, but not too bad. The ride along the highway was pretty nice. Got some nice views. And got to Port McNeill, really beautiful town. It's all the way down the hill towards the ocean. Saw the world's largest burl, which is kind of like a growth on a tree. They also had a monkey puzzle tree, which is pretty cool. Kind of a boating town. Here I am at the campsite, getting set up, and I went into town and had some delicious fish tacos again. Different restaurant, but it was really, really good. And called it a night. Day 23, I had planned to go from Port McNeill to Nimkish Lake and camp there, but I decided to push on, and then continued on from Nimkish Lake all the way down to a town called Woss. I encountered some issues along the way though. The main issue with this route was that in many parts of the highway, it was just a single lane on either side, and the shoulder was like really, really tiny, and sometimes muddy and sandy. The views were pretty nice when I could actually stop. This is where I thought about stopping, but pushed on. And lots of big trucks, as you'll see a little bit later. Decided to skip Nimkish Lake because the weather was nice and it was only 12:30. About 5k into that, turned pretty nasty. This highway has no shoulder. Well, it's about 6 inches and there's lots of trucks. So you gotta pull over into the mud every 30 seconds or so. I literally feared for my life in certain sections of this road because at some points there was a concrete barrier on one side. I didn't get a photo of it, but there was basically nowhere to walk on some of the places, and you found beer cans like every 10, 15, 20 feet. So obviously people are drinking potentially as they're driving along here, and I guess it's a bit of a problem because there's a sign here. But yeah, it was a pretty nasty road, and I decided to end my trip early because of these road conditions. Once I got to Woss, I called my girlfriend, and she came over on the ferry and rescued me at this little truck stop in Woss gas station. And we drove all the way through the night, or she drove because she's the one who drives. I don't have my license. I think we both stayed up for close to 24 hours on the way back. So I recommend if you're ever cycling through here that there's some logging roads you can take instead of the highway. That's what I should have done. And just be safe, be vigilant. We got the first ferry back from Nanaimo back to Vancouver. And my initial plan was to cycle back all the way to Sidney and then get the ferry from there, but decided to stop the trip a little bit early. In retrospect, it was fine because I was basically backtracking all the way back to Sidney, and I'd be seeing kind of what I saw on the way back anyway. So all in all, it was an amazing trip, great memories, met so many people. Everyone was so friendly in all the little towns and all the bikepackers I met along the way. Really amazing trip. I'm sure I'll be doing trips like this in the future. I think I'll be getting a proper gravel bike though if I do, with wider tires and maybe front suspension, I'm not sure yet. but I got most of the other gear, so it should be pretty straightforward. Hope you guys enjoyed this glimpse into a bit of my real life. If you did like it, hit that thumbs up. It helps people find the video. And if you have any other questions, just ask them in the comments. If you want me to do a separate video on kind of the gear I used or any other questions, just let me know and maybe I'll put a smaller video together about that. But thank you all for watching. See you all next time. Bye bye.